Hey, how's it going, my fellow survivors? I hope you guys are safe, healthy, and managing to be a little bit happy since we did get an official new release date for The Last of Us Part 2, which is June 19th. But I know, even though that's good news, a lot of y'all are probably either sad or mad after reading the Last of Us Part 2 spoilers. Now, I don't know if you guys went out and actively looked for the spoilers and were disappointed in what you've seen or read, or if you're just a fan who was trying to avoid the spoilers and ended up getting it spoiled for you anyway on a Twitter post or a YouTube video. But, yeah, I feel your guys' pain. I had a little bit of it spoiled for me. Luckily, I did not watch any of the major spoilery videos that were put out, and I didn't really read too much of the spoilers. I've managed to avoid them all day on Twitter and YouTube. But I did watch two videos. One of them had Ellie and Dina on the bed in the weed lab, and the second one was Ellie and Dina riding on a horse. So neither one of those videos had any real story spoilers in them, which I was happy about. But I did manage to uncover every single weapon that is going to be in part 2 at the start of the video with Ellie and Dina riding on the horse. Because, like, the first 3 minutes of that video, the level is loading. And if you look at the very bottom, you can see all the file names for everything that's in the game. So I went through, I put the video in slow motion, and I wrote down every single weapon that is going to be in The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm about to show you guys what those weapons are right now. So as you know, in the first game, these are all the weapons we had. We had the 9mm pistol, we had the 38 Special, the El Diablo, the Shorty, the bolt-action rifle, the shotgun, the bow, and the flamethrower. And at the very end of the game, there was the assault rifle, but in my opinion, that's the worst gun in the game because it took like a whole mag just to drop somebody. So it wasn't even worth using that gun. So I don't even really consider that in this list. So as you can see, we have a total of what? 6 guns, a bow, and a flamethrower in the first game. And when it comes to melee weapons, I think there were 4 melee weapons, right? There was a 2x4, a lead pipe, baseball bat, and a machete. Oh, and a hatchet. So there were 5 melee weapons in the first game. And I think there were, 3 throwables? There was the nail bomb, Molotov cocktail, and the smoke bomb. So 3 throwables. So 5 melee weapons, 3 throwables, 7 guns, a bow, and a flamethrower. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the confirmed weapons for part 2. Alright, so we're going to start this off with the throwables first. Now before I get started on this list, I want you guys to know that any pictures of weapons that you see here are not actually pulled from The Last of Us Part 2. The majority of them are just pictures of weapons that I got from Google Images, just for references. So I just want you guys to know that. Other than this one, this is the exception. This was actually pulled from The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay. As you can see here, we have 4 throwables, or should I say 3 throwables, and 1 item that you just set on the ground, because I don't think this is a throwable because it's called a trap mine for a reason. You're supposed to set it somewhere and then run away and then have your enemy walk into it. As you can see here, the file name is Trap Mine Basic, and then there is Trap Mine Upgrade. So I'm assuming an upgrade is going to do one of 2 things. 1, probably make it more powerful, and 2, make the blast radius wider. So let's say you have a horde of infected running at you. If you have the upgraded version, you can set it down and it's going to explode and take out a much larger group than it normally would. And the upgraded version will probably also take down like a bigger infected, like the Shambler, much quicker. Because in the gameplay we've seen last year, She set the trap mine down. The Shambler ran into it, but it didn't kill him. She had to hit him with a Molotov afterward in order to kill him, but I bet the upgraded version would kill the Shambler just like that. So that's something cool to think about. Next up, as you can see, we have the smoke bomb. We know what these are. We had these in the first game, and they were pretty fun to use because when you threw them down, you'd have this big cloud of smoke, and it would pretty much make your enemies blind. You could like walk right in front of them, and they wouldn't even notice you, so you could just take them out stealthily, and I just thought that was hilarious. So yeah, those are back. Then we have a new one, which is the stun bomb. Now this isn't the way it's going to look in the game. This is just a stun grenade I found in Google Images. As you can see, I wrote stun bombs are craftable, so unlikely that they will look like this. But it's going to be, you know, just like this. You toss it down, it's going to flash, it's going to stun them. They're going to be like, oh man, I can't see shit, man, what's going on? And then it'll give you an opportunity to run up and stealth kill them. And then lastly, of course, we got the Molotov. Light that beast up, chunk it at an enemy, and watch them burn and flail. Alright, next up, Bic Lighter. Believe it or not, this was in the weapons section, and it says Bic Lighter. Now this definitely isn't a weapon by itself, unless you like shove it down somebody's throat and make them choke on it. But I think this is considered a weapon because it's probably used to light the Molotov before you toss it, so I guess it's just thrown in there with the weapons. But anyway, I just thought it was funny that it was in there. Next up, alright, so now we're going to get into the melee weapons. So like I said, there were 5 in the first game. There are a lot more in part 2. And the first one is the Crowbars. You can see crowbar, one hand. And this is pretty badass right here. I cannot wait to walk around and bash some skulls in with a crowbar. Next up, we have a pickaxe. As you can see, pickaxe, scar. Now, there's a lot of weapons in here that have the word scar after them, and I don't know what that means. Some say basic, some say scar, some don't even have any words after the name of the weapon. So it's a little confusing, but this does let us know that a pickaxe is a weapon in the game. And I wonder what we're going to be able to do with this. We'll probably be able to shove this in the side of somebody's head, similar to Jason in the Friday the 13th game. You know, where you shove it in the side of their head and then you twist it around. I doubt it's going to be that brutal, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we got the pipe wrench. This is one of those fun weapons to use. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Super, but it stars the guy that plays Dwight in The Office. Why do I always forget his damn name? But he becomes a quote-unquote superhero, and this is his weapon of choice, and he just runs around town bashing people's faces in with a pipe wrench. So we'll be able to live out our super fantasies and kill motherfuckers with a pipe wrench. Next up, we have a scythe, or is it a scythe or a Scythe? I don't really know how to pronounce that because I've never actually heard somebody who knows how to pronounce this pronounce it. I just call it a scythe. But as you can see right here, scythe scar. And this is just a Google image I found. I don't know exactly how the scythe is going to look in the game, but it is supposed to be a one-handed scythe. So it's most likely going to look something like this. It's not going to have the really long handle like you're used to. But yeah, seeing this, man, brings me back memories from Manhunt. Manhunt had one that looks like this, and you would creep up behind somebody and you would slice somebody's stomach open with it. And I bet there's going to be some gruesome kills like this, like that in part 2. And you know what? I think Neil Druckmann is a fan of the Manhunt series. That's why the first Last of Us was so brutal. And that's why I think part 2 is going to be even more brutal than the first game, because Neil Druckmann was a fan of the Manhunt series, but knew that Rockstar Games were too scared to put out a Manhunt 3 with today's visuals, because they know that shit would get an adult rating and it wouldn't be able to be sold in most countries. So that's why Rockstar hasn't even worked on a Manhunt 3. But Neil Druckmann's like, fuck that shit, man. I'm gonna put in some gruesome ass shit in my game, and it'll basically be like Manhunt 3, except you're playing as a woman, so Woman Hunt 3. Next up, we got a Tomahawk. As you can see, Hatchet Tomahawk. Now, I'm not sure if these are gonna be throwable, or if this is just gonna be another look to the hatchet, because it does say Hatchet Tomahawk. But I'm hoping that we can throw these bad boys just like in Red Dead Redemption 2. Next up, we got a short pipe. Now, this was under the one-handed weapons section. So we're just going to be able to find a little short pipe and just bash people's heads in. Next up, we have baseball bat and baseball bat metal. So it looks like we're going to have two baseball bat options. We're going to have the wooden one and the metal one, because in the first game you only had the wooden one, and then you could modify it with the broken scissor parts. And this one, hopefully they have some barbed wire and we can craft the fucking Lucille. How badass would that be? And then they could have like a little finisher where Ellie like kicks them down to their knees and then just bashes the top of their head in like Negan did Glenn. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, I'm assuming this is what this means, because it says baseball bat, then it says baseball bat metal. So I'm assuming this is your average wooden one, and then this is the metal version. Cool shit. Next up, Fireman's axe right here. So we're gonna have one of these big ass Fireman's axes. This is gonna cause some damage. They even show this off in the release date trailer from last year, where she takes it out of one of the enemy's hands and she's about to slice him in the stomach, but then it cuts away. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be some brutal kills coming with the Fireman's axe. Next up, we got the lead pipe. As you know, this was in the first game, nothing new. Next up, club one-handed police. So it looks like we're gonna be getting a nightstick in the game. Never really been a fan of the nightstick. I never use it in GTA. I never use it in any game with it. I just feel like it's a pretty shitty melee weapon when you got all these other choices like hatchets and machetes and baseball bats. Why the hell would you choose to use a nightstick? Next up, we got the old handy dandy 2x4. Put some nails in, bash some skulls in, like in the first game. And next we have the two-handed club. Now, I'm not 100% certain this means golf club, but it makes sense. I did see a picture of a woman holding a golf club, so I'm assuming that it's pretty much confirmed that we're going to be able to use golf clubs and hit birdies across people's faces. Next up, of course, we got the hammer, because we first noticed the hammer in the 2017 Mystery Woman trailer, and then in 2018 we got to witness Ellie take a hammer out of one woman's hand and bash her in the face, and then break the fucking hammer in another guy's face. So yes, this is definitely going to have some badass kill moves coming along with it. Next we have the Hatchet Scar and Hatchet Modern and Hatchet. So it looks like we may be getting 2 to 3 different versions of the hatchet in this game on top of the Tomahawk. Definitely looking forward to that. And then here, this was interesting because, as you know, Ellie already has her switchblade, but it says that there's a hunting knife in the game. So I'm assuming we have the switchblade. The switchblade can never break, but it's weak. So you're just slicing and slicing and slicing. So I'm assuming you find this hunting knife. It's breakable, but it's also more powerful, can do more damage than your switchblade. So that's pretty cool that we can find an extra knife. Too bad we couldn't do that in the first game as Joel, because it would have been pretty cool, you know, having a knife as Joel and walking up and slitting some guys' throats. And then of course we got the machete. We already knew this was coming because it was in the gameplay. But here it looks like we got 3 different versions. We got the machete black, machete wood, and machete scar. Like I said, there's that word scar again. I still can't figure out what that word means exactly, but it's pretty much comes after most of the melee weapons. So it looks like we're gonna have 2 to 3 different variations of the machete. Alright, now we're moving into the guns and projectiles. This is the bow with the regular arrow and the explosive arrows. I just took a picture of a dynamite and put it on the end of this. I don't think it's going to be an actual dynamite like in Red Dead Redemption 2. But yeah, so we're going to be able to use a bow with some explosive arrows. Going to be pretty badass. Alright, now we're into the nitty gritty, into the guns, baby. So these are the 4 handguns that I've seen in the files. We have the Taurus Revolver 38. As you can see, it's actually named a Taurus Revolver, and it says speed loader. I'm assuming the speed loader is probably going to be an upgrade for this gun. I doubt you're going to have a speed loader right away. You're going to have to wait to upgrade it at the workbench. Next we have the CZ75 9mm, as you can see right here. Now I don't know why they decided to put 2 9mm in the game. It's kind of odd. But these are the only 4 handguns in the game, which I thought was weird, especially when you got 2 9mm. I was hoping we were going to get another Shorty or El Diablo, but I did not see either of those guns in the file list, so kind of disappointing. But yeah, then we have the Beretta 9mm, which I'm pretty sure Ellie was using in the gameplay that was released in September of last year. And then we have the Ruger 45, as you can see right here, pistol Ruger. So we got a nice selection of handguns. We got our 6-shooter, 9mm, and a 45. And I guess you just got to figure out which 9mm you like better. Oh yeah. And down here, silencer, bottle plastic, and then there's a silencer, bottle metal. So it looks like, because we know the plastic bottle version only lasts 3 shots, so I'm assuming when you upgrade, you're going to go to the metal version, which is probably going to last 5 shots. Next up, we have the Remington pump action shotgun. I'm sure it looks something like this. Like I said, this is just a Google image I pulled. I don't know if it's going to be the longer version or the shorter version, but I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Next up, now this one was interesting. Rifle MPX. Now, this was the only automatic weapon in the list. Now, if you remember from the first game, there was only 1 automatic rifle in that game also, which was the assault rifle. And like I said earlier, that gun sucked. It took a whole mag just to kill somebody. It wasn't even worth using. And it looks like we have another automatic weapon in part 2, and this will probably be used towards an end sequence, I'm assuming. I doubt you're going to get this early on in the game. But yeah, it's an odd choice that they went with an MPX over other potential weapons. I don't know. I figured they would have went with like an AK, AR-15, an M4, something like that, but they went with the old MPX. Still excited to try it out though. Then of course, from the first game, the old Remington bolt action rifle. And then there's another one in the game, Remington 81 rifle. As you can see, it's similar to this one. This is bolt action though, so you have to reload each bullet, which is slow. But in this one, you get a little mag, so you know you can shoot consecutively as a semi-automatic without having to reload each bullet. And then we have the Mini 14, which is one of my favorite guns to use in war games. And in Max Payne 3, this is one of my favorite rifles to use. It's pretty damn powerful. Can't wait to see what type of damage it does in part 2. And that was it. Those are all the guns. Like I said, man, I was a little disappointed there wasn't a flamethrower or an El Diablo, but you know, I think this game is really meant to be more melee focused. That's why they added the dodge. I think guns are meant to be more scarce along with ammo. And that's why they like doubled up the amount of melee weapons in the game from the first one, because there's like what 10 or 11 melee weapons that we went through for part 2. So yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Now this is something else I've seen in the game, which I found interesting. It says Gore Finisher Ellie. Now, I don't know what this means. I'm assuming maybe it's got something to do with either the melee weapons or maybe the guns too. Like maybe every single weapon in the game has its own special gory finisher. Because as you know, in the first game, there weren't any gun finishers, uh, but there were melee finishers, specifically for the hatchet and the machete. And I think there was like 4 different variations of finishers, because you had the one where you stab them in the shoulder, you have the one where you stab them in the stomach, you have the one where uh, you slice them across the stomach, then slice them across the back of the neck, and then you also have the one where you slice them across the throat. So yeah, I think there was 4 different finisher variations for the hatchet and machete. In the first game, I don't think there was any finishers for the other melee weapons, the lead pipe, 2x4, and the bat. No. So yeah, the finishers were very limited in the first game. But I'm hoping in this game there's going to be like a variation of finishers for each melee weapon and also each gun. Like in Red Dead Redemption 2. In Red Dead Redemption 2, there's like 2 gun finishers from the front and 2 gun finishers from the back. Same with the melee weapons. There's like 2 or 3 different finishers from the front, finishers from the back. So I'm hoping that's what we get in part 2. Like I said, if that's the case, this is definitely going to be like, you know, Manhunt 3 taken to a whole nother level. I mean, if you look at the visual fidelity of The Last of Us Part 2 and just the amount of gore that they've already shown off in the trailer and the gameplay from last year, like, this thing is going to be brutal. And if you're going to be able to pull off just some disgusting finishers, oh, it's going to be fun, man. Whether people enjoy the story or not, I think if you're a fan of Manhunt and other violent video games, you are definitely going to enjoy the gameplay of part 2, even if you have to make it through the story that you don't really care about. But yeah, so there you have it. That is the list of every weapon that I could see in the file list for The Last of Us Part 2. So what do you guys think? Are you happy with the amount of weapons in this game? Do you think there should be more guns? Do you think there should be more melee weapons? And what are your thoughts on this whole gore finisher thing? What do you think it means? Let me know below. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.